Geekism, and welcome back to Archer Park. This is our tiny 30 by 30 mini park that we are making as a bit of an homage to Planet Coaster 1 as we await the launch of Planet Coaster 2. Thank you so much to all of the positive feedback in episode 1. I did ask whether or not people preferred the hour time update or the time lapses, so let's take a look. Oh, looks like everyone enjoys the new hour long. Oh, no, everyone wanted time lapses. Okay, cool. Maybe we'll try half and half today. So the main plan for this park is obviously that it's very small. It's going to be fun to try and squeeze stuff into it. But the second tier plan was to try and make an episode around each of the DLCs for the game. So the first DLC, which came out around about a year after the game came out, was the Spooky Pack. We'd had a few different free updates, and I think there were the little packs, the Back to the Future pack and all of that sort of stuff. I'm not really including those really. So yeah, Spooky Pack was the first proper pack, and that's the one we're going to be looking at today. I will tell you now, we are not building a spooky ride. I did think about putting a ghost train in, but with an area so small as this, I just felt like it would just be a big box that we never really looked inside of and would take up a huge chunk of the real estate. But also, I feel like the big thing about the Spooky Pack for a lot of people was that it gave us some really great stone and wood textures, including some really great wooden beams and planks. And whilst the spooky stuff was pretty good and pretty good fun, most of the people who would consider themselves a detailer in the game got more of the value out of the Spooky Pack from things like those planks. So with that in mind, we're going to be using some of the spooky stuff here today to build a non-spooky car ride. In the last episode, we put down half of the track. For the first hour of the game, I'm going to try and put down the rest of it. And I laugh because I know full well I'm recording this after the fact. This is, YouTube magic. This took me way longer than an hour. Well, it may not look like much, but the car ride is in. And as is a carousel as well. I really wanted a carousel in the middle. Originally did plan on using the big, the grand carousel right in the middle of the park. That was actually going to be the first episode, but then the wooden coaster kind of got away from me. So we've added the smaller one. Makes a little bit more sense, honestly, in this sort of scale park. And, it's beautiful. It came with the original game. We didn't get the grand carousel until the vintage pack, I feel, or one of the ride packs, maybe. Anyway, the smaller two-tiered one is very sweet. Fits in this space nicely. Again, at the moment, looks like a big old meth of path and stuff, but it will come together, I think. Okay, as far as the ride goes then, this just took so long to get right. Very limited on the space we're using. This is just about as small as it can go here, and had to rebuild this path a few times. Now we have a slope under the coaster, but I'm okay with that. The clearance here is still acceptable. And then we move down into here where we have the splits. This one goes up, this one goes down, and then the one that goes down actually comes underneath the queue line. Nice sort of big curve down. Probably all of this is a little bit of a tight curve, but we are dealing with a smaller space, so we have to sort of just stretch the realism there a little bit. And that's also the reason why I'm very specifically using these cars and not the more sort of vintage cars, because the vintage cars just sit the people even higher up, and so obviously the coverage we have with these ones, they just sit a little bit lower down. It means we haven't got to do as much effort to get under each of the bridges, and they're a little close. But you know what? I've ridden rides like this where I felt like I need to duck, so I don't mind too much that these are this way inclined. I wonder why the bottom of the path is a little different there. That's strange. Is it like that on the other side as well? Yeah, is that just a shadow? Huh. Peculiar. Anyway, I'm going to cover it all up with some bridge stuff in a minute anyway. So there we go. We have the ride in. I think the next thing I need to do is to try and just sort of ground it a little, really. And I want to start over here because this was the original sort of point of this ride, was I had this small turnaround here that has a bit of interaction with both the wooden coaster and the queue for the coaster as well. So I'm going to try and place that in. And we're going to do that through a time lapse. One of my favorite pieces from the Spooky Pack, honestly, is this wall. There's only two pieces of it. There's this one that has a sort of rounded edge to one side and flat on the other. And then there's a corner piece that you can kind of use to cap this off. And it's great. I think it makes a really awesome retaining wall. I do wonder, I feel like I mention this all the time, I'm crazy colorblind, like super colorblind. I have tritanopia and do not see colors well at all. And I do wonder whether the spooky stuff And honestly, a lot of pieces in the game, they're just the wrong colors. Like, this could be like a really bright purple for all I know. You know, because I feel like with the spooky pack, they really leaned into like Addams Family, Munsters, you know, that kind of level of spooky. So, you know, lots of purples and greens and what have you. So there's a good chance that they're not grey at all and they're like a weird purple. And even if you colour them grey, they still kind of have that weird twinge to them. I think that might be the case because I don't necessarily see these get used very much in other people's builds, and I feel like they maybe would do if they were a bit more of a generic colour, because they're awesome. I couldn't see why you wouldn't use them. They're a really great piece for this kind of thing, basically, this sort of retaining wall looking stuff. And then we put those in, fill those out in the area, and then here we're going to build a nice flower bed just to break the queue line a little bit away from the edge there. Here we're using an awesome TMTK mulch piece, not pebble mulch. There's going to be pebbles later on, don't worry. We get some pebbles into this. First of all, just some regular mulch, and then we're going to plant it out as well. There's a little bit of ground there that I just cannot get to go away. We're going to hide that with some clever use of wisteria planting in a moment. But for now, this is a spooky fence. The fences were amazing in the spooky pack. They were these beautiful raw iron. They weren't too scary looking. Yes, maybe a little spiky, but again, just really nice, useful fencing that I found myself using a lot across parks. So I was very happy to bring them in here. And here we go. See, we're just going to have a really nice, heavily flowered planting here. Theming-wise, these rides in this park are going to be pretty low. Most of the budget and the sort of nice things to look at are going to come through heavy planting and things like that. So here we see this wisteria that is planted there and it's just let to grow down over the ride. Most likely you would be batting some of this away as you go past it in the car, and then we fill in with some more flowers just to give it really nice and full coverage. And as you can see, as the cars come past, there's a little bit of clip there, but it's not too bad. I've genuinely been on these kind of rides where if you're a little taller, you're moving branches out of the way as you go by them. Otherwise, it's pretty good. The clearance happens there, and we have this beautiful sort of nicely fleshed out flower bed. I think it looks great. In the time lapse, I did have this wall coming all the way down here, and I've started to flesh the supports out here because obviously the actual ground underneath them is a bit funky. So we've had to sort of fake the supports on both sides. I don't know how real this is, having them sort of cut into this wall. It's probably not, but we're so limited on the space. I'm not moving anything. This is how it's going to go, and it looks good enough for me, I think. And then I use the pavement pieces that came with the studio pack to fill this in. I don't think I'm going to be able to do the whole ride like this. I think the curve and what have you is just a little too slick here. And round here, I just feel like it's going to be a nightmare. So I don't mind using this for the most part. It's obviously all going to get covered in and filled in. But I'm kind of happy with this half at least, that it just looks like an open pavemented area. And then I built this bridge as well to go underneath. And again, the clearance is pretty snug. These are window pieces just to make archways under both of them. It happens. You're going to keep your hands to yourself while you're going under there, but... Otherwise, it is what it is. Need to flesh out the top here. Just put the wall pieces in. But overall, happy with that. That was the progress from this hour. I'm happy with that. I think next hour we just kind of do more of the same. Okay, this is going to be one of those hours where it looks like nothing happened. I just realized not much went on here. Maybe I was in a bit of a building funk, or maybe it just did actually take as long as I thought it did. So the first thing is this retaining wall had to be brought up to this height all the way across. I was having crazy issues trying to get the pebble mulch working with the tiered wall there, so the wall's just gone all the way around, and that's fine. You come out of here, you're going to be looking around at the coaster, you're going to be looking at the guests and what have you. We threw a tree in here, kind of like the fact that this is just grass. I was thinking about putting something on here, but I kind of like the idea that this is just, there's just some grass here. That's fine by me. We pebble mulched in around here. We've pebble mulched a bit more around the queue here. Still obviously need a lot of work here for both of the cattle pens. That'll probably be a separate video when we do the station for the ride. Did start to box in some of the front queue line here, just carrying over this light pirate theming into the space, so using some of the sandstone walls along with some fencing, and kind of happy with that, using some chain here to suggest that we can tie this area off when we don't need it. But again, a lot more fencing and planting, and some fake supports need going in here. These supports need to come back down to the path. Obviously the game has clipped them off because the path clips there, but there's no problems with having supports come down to the path line there. I think that needs to happen somewhere else as well. Yeah, maybe here. Maybe here we need to add in a few of those fake supports. And then over this side, what really took the time this time, we decided to box in what will eventually become a station alongside the two very slightly raised paths here. So this is a bridge, but I'm trying to make it so that it doesn't necessarily look like one. It's more of an area with a tunnel built under it. And then we copied the tunnel over from here to this area, and then did a sort of archway thing. I need to get some... I'm thinking some temple rocks behind these, just so it looks a bit interesting, really. It's just a big tunnel you've got to get through, so we want to try and make it interesting. And whilst I did say this isn't going to be a spooky ride, I did want to kind of get a bit of a spooky vibe to it, just because of the pieces we're using. Again, this isn't just meant to look a little crypty, I suppose, And it comes up, and then we come up into this area. And then we have and then what will be the station, which I guess is what we work on now. And again, the whole idea with the station here was to try and use some of the spooky pieces that don't necessarily say spooky, but were used a lot because of just how useful they were. The wood piece, the wooden spooky piece, they weren't the most useful just because of how sort of battered they were. Very often you would use one of the western wood pieces, but I did want to try and bring them in here because it didn't really matter that much. Although these planks, oh my goodness, these were so good. Before these, we only had a couple of almost like driftwoody style planks, I guess. They were sort of really shaped and formed, and they were good fun, and we'd use them a lot. But here we actually had a timber plank, something we could actually use to build out structures with, and it was awesome. I remember we all rejoiced. Along with a lot of the haunted house wood stuff in general was just super useful, super generic. I've gone for slightly haunted house colors here with the purple, I think. But again, just wanted to try to keep it lightly themed, but still harking back to the spooky path and just how useful it all was. We're having a bit of trouble here clipping through with the tunnel underneath, but we managed to work it out in the end. Keeping the station really light and simple. Basically, it's more of a cover really than an actual building. It's basically this wooden structure with a roof on it, and I think it works out really well. We're going to lightly theme the ride to look a little bit like just like an autos ride. There's going to be some gas pumps and oil and tires hanging around, sort of classic automobile track ride, which we're going to be doing in just a moment. Next thing I needed to work on was the roof. And the good fun thing about the roof is there was an awesome roof set in the haunted house pack. It was a mansard roof set basically, and most of the gridded roof was ginormous. It was huge, but there were one or two off grid pieces. This one here. And my word, we use this. This is everywhere. If you go and look at any sort of park that focuses a little bit on realism, they get their money's worth out of this roof, because it's just a nice classic mansard roof. Yes, it's the roof is a bit grimy. I think actually go and cover it up with pavement pieces, and you'll see there that the gridded pieces are pretty large. So instead, we just use more of the non-gridded pieces and lift them up slightly just to give them a slight variation. But I just think this is really cute. And again, it doesn't look haunted house necessarily. It just kind of looks, turn of the century Victorian throwback. And I really dig that. And again, it sort of fits the car ride. It fits kind of the vibe of the set, vibe of the park. I'm just all about it. I think it's great. So we fill those in, and yeah, I think it's simple but effective. I'm really happy with how it turns out. We also had some more of the iron fencing around the top there, and I will do the other bits as well. I don't know why I didn't, to be honest with you. Again, just make some nice trim on a little building, and yes, it's just got the slightest of spooky vibes, but that isn't not what I'm really trying to get at. The only other thing I did is start this retaining wall here. that's going to break up these. Obviously, I didn't want that to be just big and open. Did try and cover this up with windows. It was too much. It's fine. The in-game track is acceptable. Honestly, I don't mind it at all. And the fact that it just changes from in-game track to concrete here again, I'm not going to let it bother me. It's good enough. The only other thing I did in this hour was fence the ride in, sort of box it in, and it's looking a bit pittish now. Like the whole thing, I realise, is kind of sitting down in this pit. It is what it is. We'll get a bit of height through some planting in a little while, but I kind of don't mind it. The cars are going down here on an adventure. They come through, and there's just guests all around them. In real life, would the guests just spit and throw trash down if they were idiots? Probably, but it is what it is. And we boxed in the bridge here as well. So I think next stage is basically just starting to fill it all in now. We've got these little patches that are basically just going to become rockeries, I'm thinking, just sort of rocked planted areas to kind of box in the ride. Again, the theming on this is there isn't any. The excitement of this ride is that you're on the ride and you can see people and you get close to a coaster. That's where the theming and the excitement of this ride comes. Okay, that was a productive hour, I guess. I got into a bit of a rock and planting mode and just kind of went with it. So the whole ride is now basically like done. This is it. So this is still very light over here. Does this grass area need anything? Let me know, please. I'm going to leave it for this episode, but if this needs coming back in and planting a little bit, I kind of like the fact that there's nothing there, because I kind of like the fact that you can see the other car coming back out. Ooh, like you do one of them. Non-British people might not get it, but if you're British and you're in a vehicle and you see people in another vehicle, you go, ooh, and wave, right? That's what you do. If you're on a boat and there's a track ride next to it, you wave at the boat. If you're on a bus, you wave at the bus. You're going past a train and you're on a train, you wave at the train. Like, just, I don't know. It's a very British thing. That ooh is a very British thing. Very British thing. You'll do it. You'll do it. You'll know you do it. All right. Anyway, so I want to kind of leave that open, but maybe some light planting there I can do. We'll see. All right. What the main thing here was, like I say, creating a sort of rockery of a very light palette. We've just gone for some white and red, two of the sort of cheaper flower colours, and filled in this space. Really happy with how this has turned out. I think it looks purposeful, but like less manicured. And the same on this side as well. Just we've kept the same palette across from both sides. You're just coming through this beautiful flary area. I might put some of the bumblebees and butterfly things in that we recently used in the Zori, but really happy with how this looks. And then under here, I went back and just finished off with some of that stone, like I was saying, the temple stone. So it's just sort of boxed in now, and it's an empty tunnel, but it's just themed enough to not look terrible. And then here again we start with some of this wisteria, just so the palette, the flower palette sort of continues throughout the ride, and it helps a multitude of sins. There was a little gap here between the wall and the fence, the path, and this wisteria just absolutely covers it up. It gives us enough room to say it's planted here and drips down and just comes and gets trimmed as and when it needs to. And again across here with the rock work, which carries on all the way up. And on this side we've got like a tiered pebble garden. I told you there'd be pebbles with some cacti, because why not? I don't know, they look cool and I very rarely get to use them. Just trying to stick all the stuff in this park that I don't put anywhere else. So yeah, that's about it. There's going to be one more cut. I don't think it's going to be an hour. I just want to do a couple of little things. I want to box off a path line here just to kind of really say that this area is done. We need a sign for the ride and to tidy up the entrance a little, so we'll do that. And then a little light theming. Like I said, it's very much going to be autos theming, so a couple of gas pumps and oil barrels and that kind of thing. Okay, and we're done. The whole beautiful little car ride is finished. And I'm really happy with how this has turned out. I think this is very sweet. It's very cute. I've never done one of these rides, weirdly. It's weird because this is the exact sort of thing that would fit in Pinewood Hills, but we just never really found a spot where it would work. We have our sort of lazy little boat ride through the storybook that kind of fills this quota, I guess. so I never really felt like it was needed, but very happy with how this has ended up turning out. I was a little worried that this stone would just look like a big stone thing, but now it's sort of really grounded in with the rocks and some planting and some trees and stuff. I'm actually really happy with how it's turned out, and we've got some gas stations in. These gas pumps feature in Pinewood Hills in the Googie area, so I've just sort of ported them over. A little bit of barrel planting here. Yes, it has a skull and crossbones on. I'm not going to hold that against it. I just think it's the sort of thing that they would just use to break up concrete, and I think it looks pretty good. And then some barrels and some wheels, and that's pretty much it. And the same with the entrance of Ruloma. This is car track, I think it is, in Planko. I mentioned in the last episode that Belu is Planko for balloon, and you can look at the Planko dictionary online, and I got loads of comments saying, oh, it's been taken down. It hasn't. This isn't in my head. If you Google Planko dictionary, it's the first link on Google. I don't know what to tell you all. It's there. I don't know any of this. Although when I did look at car and it came up Vru, I was like, oh yeah, I knew that. I knew that was Vru. And then we have a little bit of planting. We're going for some like just big, nice weather trees. Again, it's just the sort of thing I haven't been able to use much in Pinewood, and they're very purposeful trees. We're not going to really have a lot of green space in this park because of how small it is. We are going to have to pack the rides in, so every tree I wanted it to look like really purposeful. Would this root system just break this all to shreds eventually? Yes. Do we care? No. This one's fine. And then around here, just a couple more. We've used the birch is probably the smallest tree we'll have here with the pavement. And then, as I said, I wanted to bring this out here. So this is regular path here with a little bit of tarmac paint to box it in. And then I wanted this. People were moaning there's no drinks places in the park. I mean, apparently you need to be hydrated in theme parks. Who knew? So I put one in, and now everyone from all over the park wanders in to find it. But I want this to be a little ice cream parlor. Am I going to be able to fit a building here? I don't know, but the plan is for this to be a cute little ice cream parlor, you know, lots of pink, and maybe the same roof from over there, but pink, and we'll sort of tie it in. It'll look all tied in, but that's going to be next episode. And the old King coaster that was just sort of plonked down in the pathway here originally now has a new home. As I'm going to say it's the weenie of the park. Does it go very high? No, but pretty much from any of the pathways around the entrance area, you're going to see him, you're going to spot him. People are going to be standing here and grabbing photos and clogging the place up. You just know it. And also it technically counts as some scenery for the car ride, even though it looks like that on the car ride. But yeah, I've always loved this piece. It's ridiculous and huge, and I'm pretty sure it lights up. Let's have a look. Yeah, glows horrifically. I just realised that we've done very little lighting in the park. That's something we're going to have to go back and do. There will be a lighting pass later on. Look at this thing. It's ridiculous, but I absolutely love it. And, you know, he is Planet Coaster Incarnate. He is the guy. He's the main character. He's the Mickey Mouse of the whole operation. So, of what is perhaps a Mickey Mouse operation with this park, I don't know. So there we go. Vruloma. This is Roloma. It's the Not-So-Spooky car ride. I'm super happy with it. I think it's really sweet, and I think it's a nice little homage to the spooky pieces. And let's be honest, an homage to how we used those spooky pieces. A few people, you know, we have a haunted house in Pinewood Hills, but for the most part, this just became the cool wooden beam pack. What's next? I think it's Adventure Pack. Oh, now we should do an adventure ride, shouldn't we? Do we attempt coaster number 2? Do we attempt coaster number 2 here, an adventure-themed coaster? You'll have to wait and find out. We'll ride the cars, though. Thank you so much for watching. Love you all to bits. Till the next one, be good.